Dear Diary, today the stars whispered to me again. I was lying in the hills of Bethlehem, the sheep tucked quietly among the rocks, and the sky was like a great curtain of fire and silence. I've spent so many nights like this, harp at my side, sling in my hand, eyes on the heavens. But tonight, I couldn't rest. The air felt different, not like the scent of coming rain or wolves nearby. This was something deeper, something waiting. I played a tune for the sheep, not because they needed it, but because I did. A soft melody, half prayer, half memory. The night my hands gripped a lion's mane, the day a bear came for one of the lambs. I remember the fear, yes, but more than that. I remember how it fled when I stood my ground. I didn't run, I didn't cower. I remembered who I belonged to, and the Lord who was with me in the fields. He never left. I lay back against the stone, watching my flock, heart thudding a little louder than usual. Something is coming. I can feel it. Dear Diary, today my father gave me bread and cheese and changed my life. Before the sun had fully risen, Jesse woke me. He had packed barley loaves and cheese for my brothers at the battlefield. Go and check on them, he said. Bring me back word. That was it. No prophecy, no visions, just bread and cheese and obedience. I left the flock with another shepherd and made my way to the front lines. As I walked, I passed olive groves and vineyards and streams where I used to chase frogs as a child. I wasn't thinking of kings or giants or destiny, just my brothers, and maybe catching a glimpse of the army. The moment I saw the Valley of Elah, my breath caught. Soldiers in rows, banners high, and across the valley, Philistines. Then I heard it. A voice that didn't belong on any battlefield, booming, cursing, mocking. A giant of a man stood in the open space between the armies, daring someone, anyone, to face him. And no one moved, not Saul, not the soldiers, not even my brothers. I felt something twist in my chest, not fear, righteous fury. Who is this man that he should defy the armies of the living God? Dear Diary, today no one believed I belonged here, not even my own brothers. I had just arrived and was speaking to one of the soldiers when Eliab heard me. His face tightened before I even finished asking about the reward. He didn't even hear my question, only the sound of my voice. Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep? He spoke like I was an intruder, like I was playing warrior. He said I was full of pride, just here to watch the battle. But what battle? I saw no fighting, only fear. I wanted to explain myself, to tell him I wasn't here for a spectacle, or to parade around with bold words. But I didn't argue, I turned away. What would be the point? I spoke again to another man, asking about this Philistine and the reward Saul had promised. I wasn't chasing glory, I was chasing justice. Word spread quickly. Soldiers murmured, "The boy with the sling won't stop talking." Then someone pulled me aside. The king wanted to see me. Dear Diary, today I stood in the tent of a king and felt more confident than he did. Saul looked surprised when I stepped into his tent. He had probably expected a warrior, not a shepherd. "You're just a boy," he said. But I wasn't just anything. I was the Lord's. I told him what I knew, that I had faced wild beasts in the fields, and they had fallen. I told him that the same God who delivered me from the lion and the bear would deliver me from this Philistine. His silence hung in the air for a moment. Then he nodded slowly, and he gave me his armor. It was heavy, beautiful, fit for a king. But it wasn't mine. I tried walking in it. I couldn't breathe right, couldn't move like I needed to. It felt like wearing someone else's fear, so I took it off. Dear Diary, today I walked to the stream and chose 5 smooth stones. The sound of water steadied me. As I knelt beside the brook, I let my fingers run through the cold current, the stones beneath. I didn't need 5. I knew that, but I took them anyway. Not out of fear, but faith. The Lord had brought me this far. He didn't need me to wear armor or carry a sword. He needed me to believe. I put the stones in my pouch and gripped the leather of my sling. Simple, worn, like the one I'd used for years. Then I stood. The sun was high. The Philistine was already out in the valley, pacing like a bull waiting to gore someone. and I stepped forward, not shaking, not boasting, but sure, because the battle isn't mine, it's the Lord's. Dear Diary, today I ran toward the giant and he never got back up. He was waiting in the valley when I stepped out from the lines, towering, snarling. His shield-bearer paced beside him like a dog on a leash. Goliath looked me over once and laughed, like I was a game, not a fight. He cursed me by his gods, promised he'd feed me to the birds. His voice echoed off the rocks, but I didn't flinch. I told him the truth, not mine, but the Lord's. You come with sword and spear. I come in the name of the Lord Almighty. I didn't wait for him to charge. I ran. My hand dipped into the pouch. 1 stone, the smoothest of the 5. My fingers knew the weight before my mind could measure it. The sling whirled once, twice, loosed, and the world went quiet. Dear Diary, today a giant fell, and so did every fear I had left. The stone struck him between the eyes. He stopped mid-step, staggered, arms slack, and then he dropped, face first. It was like the earth had exhaled. Even the Philistines stood frozen. The air held its breath. I didn't. I ran to him, drew his own sword from its sheath, massive, heavier than anything I'd ever lifted, and ended what had already been decided. The valley was still. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the Philistines turned and ran, and the men of Israel shouted and chased them all the way to Ekron. It was as if courage returned with every step. I stood in the middle of the valley, dust and blood on my hands, not mine. Dear Diary, today I stood before a king with a giant's head in my hands. They brought me to Saul, just as the sun began to fall. My tunic was stained. My sling hung empty at my side. In my hand, still, was Goliath's head. Saul asked, "Whose son are you, young man?" I told him plainly, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." And behind Saul stood another man, his son, Jonathan. He didn't speak, but he looked at me like he already knew me, as if some invisible thread had drawn our souls together the moment our eyes met. He took off his robe, gave me his bow, his belt, his tunic, and in doing so, gave me his friendship. Dear Diary, today I realized I won't be going back to the fields. The sheep will be someone else's now. The hills will be quieter without my songs. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know this. The Lord who was with me in the shadows is still with me in the spotlight. They say I defeated a giant, but I know better. The Lord did. I just ran toward the noise and trusted he'd meet me there.